Hello. This will be the third video of the GED math portion practice test number 2. So let's continue off. I believe we stopped off on question 28. Okay. So yeah, I believe we stopped off on question 28. So let's just go right through 28. Um, right. So I don't know if can you see this okay? I should I zoom in a little bit? Does that is that too much? Oh yeah, that's too much. Let's do this. I could see it. I hope you can see it as well. So question 28 says, which of the following is equivalent form of the expression 7 over 3x minus 1 minus 2 over x plus 3 minus 2 over 3x plus 1, 3x minus 1. So what we are dealing with, we are subtracting fractions. And what you need to know when you're adding or even subtracting, you need an LCD. So if you want, I can rewrite this. So we have 7 over 3x minus 1 minus 2 over x plus 3 minus 2 over 3x minus 1. So what you got to do to find the LCD is look at the denominator, make sure it's in the most premise form. If you have a repeating base, pick the one with the highest power. So okay, so look at the bottom. So think of 3x minus 1. Don't think of it as two terms. Think of it as parentheses 3x minus 1, parentheses to the power of 1. The same thing here. Don't think of x plus 3 as two terms. Think of it as parentheses x plus 3 to the power of 1. And then over here we can rewrite that as parentheses 3x minus 1 to the power of 1, right? Okay, so um, what you're going to do is look at the base. And they're in the most premise form. So you can't break down 3x minus 1, x plus 3, and 3x minus 1. That's it. So let's look at the base. Do you see a base of 3x minus 1? A repeating. Do you see a repeating base of 3x minus 1? Yes, I do. I see it right here as well. So the rule states if you see a repeating base, pick the one with the highest power. Since they're both to the power of 1, you're just going to say parentheses 3x minus 1 to the power of 1. You don't have to put that 1 if you don't want to, right? Because you don't have to put it if you don't want to, but you could if you want. And then what's our other base? X plus 3. Do I see it anywhere else on the bottom? No. So it's a non-repeating base. So just bring it down. Okay. Now, if you need a little bit more a refresher on LCD, or if you want more practice on LCD, you can always check out the supplementary videos on LCD. Okay. So on the bottom, it's always going to be your LCD. So on the bottom, you could just put 3x minus 1 times x plus 3. I'll FOIL that out later because if you look at the bottom, you don't see our answers because they probably FOIL it out. But on the top, that's where you have to be careful. There's a little bit of work involved, a little bit of algebra. So let's look at here. We have 3x minus 1. What are we missing for our LCD? Yeah, you're right. X plus 3, right? So you're going to multiply top and bottom by x plus 3. So don't worry about the bottom because the bottom will always be your LCD. So at the end of the day, this is your bottom. It's the top that's got to be careful. Now let's look at the middle term. We have an x plus 3 on the bottom. What are we missing for our LCD? That's right, 3x minus 1. Be very cautious. Do you see this minus? That you got to distribute, you think of it as a -1 and you're going to distribute it. So what I recommend is FOIL the 2 first, then distribute the minus, okay? This minus does not go away. Okay, now let's look at the last term. Over here we have a bottom of 3x minus 1. What are we missing for our LCD? That's right, x plus 3. So you're going to multiply top and bottom by x plus 3. So we said the bottom, it's just our LCD, so you could just leave that. On the top, we're going to do some work. Be careful. So FOIL, what's 7 times x plus 3? That is 7x plus 21. And then over here, FOIL out the 2, so this is going to be 6x, right? 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times -1 is -2. Then distribute that minus, or that invisible -1. Let me put it down here. So when you FOIL that minus, it's going to be a -6x plus 2, right? And let's bring this down. This is going to be 7x plus 21. Okay, good so far. Good. Now over here, there is a minus, so you got to distribute that minus. So first, let's FOIL at that 2. So that's going to be 2x plus 6, and then distribute that minus. So that's going to be -2x minus 6. Okay, let me put here, I'm running out of space. So on the numerator, clean up the numerator, meaning collect like terms. Let's see here. What can we collect? We can collect the x's. We have a 7x, -6x, and then -2x. You can use a calculator because it says you can't. I mean, it says you don't, you can't. I mean, you can, because there's certain problems where you says do not use a calculator. So, but I think you could just get away with it with just doing your head. What's 7 minus 6? 1x. And then what's 1x minus 2x? -x. Right, but you can always put that in the calculator. So in the calculator, you just do 7 minus 6 minus 2. Yes, it's -x or -1x. Now add up the constant. What's 21 plus 2 and -6? 21 plus 2, 6 is 17. Okay, positive 17. So, and then on the bottom, what they did was they did FOIL out the bottom. They didn't leave it as factor form. So let's just quickly do that. So what's 3x times x? 3x squared. What's 3x times 3x? I mean, 3x times 3 is 9x. -1 times x is -x. -1 times positive 3 is -3. Clean that up. So that's going to be 3x squared. 9x minus 1x is 8x minus 3. There you go. So what is that? Is it A? No, there's a minus right in the middle. It's not A. Is it B? -x plus 17 on the bottom is 3x squared plus 8x minus 3. Perfect. Okay, so that is letter B. -x plus 17 over 3x squared. Perfect. Okay, let's move on to 29. So 29 is a word problem. Consider the formula of the perimeter of a rectangle. P equals 2 times L, 2 parentheses 2L plus W. So that's really like, to FOIL that out, that's the same thing as 2L plus 2W. Where L is the length and W is the width, a construction company is building a rectangular swimming pool in the backyard. The length of the pool is 5 meters more than twice its width. If the width of the pool is represented by W meters, which of the following expression correctly represents the perimeter of the pool in meters? So if you look at all the choices, notice it's not like actual values, they're all equations. So that's okay. So let's first draw a rectangular pool. Here's the pool, right? And then, so yeah, when you're doing this word problem, try to draw the best image you can. And then this is your length. This is your width, right? Now, this is the difficult part. Somehow we have to come up with equation by the given information. So if you look at the sentence, the length of the pool is 5 meters more than twice the width. So that's kind of difficult. How would I write that as an equation? The length of the pool is 5 meters, then the length of the pool is 5 meters more than twice the width. So that's going to be plus 5 and then 2W, right? And the width of the pool is represented by W meters. So they're saying that the width is just W, right? Okay, so we have our length, which is 2W plus 5, and we have our width, which is W. Now they want to know the per meter. So Per meter is basically, you can use this formula, 2P equals 2L times 2L plus 2W. That's perfectly fine. So that's going to be P equals 2L. What's my L? Length, 2W plus 5. And then plus 2 times the width. So what is our width? It's just width W, right? So FOIL this out. So it's going to be 4W plus 10 plus 2W. And then what's 4W plus 2W? 6W plus 10. I don't see our, well, you don't see our answers because they probably factored out 2. So look here, 6W plus 10. You can factor out a GCF of 2, right? They're both divisible by 2. You cannot take out a letter. So I'm going to factor out a 2. So this is going to be 2 parentheses 3W plus 5. So it looks like it's letter A, right? Yes, it is. Okay. 30 is a word problem. So it says Julia has a monthly subscription to her favorite music streaming service, which costs $10 per month. She also pays an additional $2 for each song she downloads. Last month, Julia paid $30 for the service. How many songs did Julia download last month? So it's a word problem. So what you got to do is label your variables. So what should we label? So maybe I think there's only one variable we can label. Let's say let we could say X equals or represents the number of songs Julia downloaded. Okay, so it says, so somehow we have to come up with an equation. It is kind of like a linear equation. It is very similar to this, y equals mx plus b. The only difference is they give us everything we need, and they actually give us a y value. So what do you think our y value is? So you could put the y on the very left or very right. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna just put that y on the very right. So, and what do you think our m is gonna be? And what do you think our b is gonna be? So m is like a slope. I mean, m is like your uncontrolled value, and b is like your starting point or your flat fee. Something you just have to pay up front. Let's see. So I think our M is going to be 10 because it's $10 per month. That's uncontrolled, something you don't really know because we don't know how much month she's gonna do the subscription. So our M is going to be 10. And then oh sorry, not 10. Actually, I think it's just going to be no, I think it's just going to be I think it's just going to be 10 plus 2x because it says additional $2. Yeah, I think it's 2 is the slope. B is you're at 10. Your B is your 10, your 2 is your M is your 2, right? Because it's your uncontrolled value. And last month, Julia paid $30 for the service, so I think our Y value is 30. So how many songs did Julia download? So we said X represents the number of songs she downloaded. So let's go ahead and solve for X. So we have 10 plus 2X equals 30. So first I'm going to do is subtract 10 from both sides. So you get 2X equals 30 minus 10 is 20. Divide this by 2. X equals 20 divided by 2 is 10. Okay. Okay, letter C. That's okay. 31 is a word problem. Consider the following tables representing the relationship between inputs and outputs. Which table does not represent a function? So okay. How do you know if you have a not function when they're giving you points? So these are actually coordinates or points. Inputs are your x, and then output could be your y. So in order for something to be a function, you basically cannot have a repeating x value. Okay. If you have a repeating value x value, or if one of the x values repeats more than once, it's no longer a function. So let's look at the first one. Um, Look at the x. We don't care about the y value yet. So 2, 5, 8, are any of those repeating? No. So that is a function. So that's a yes, that's a function, but we want something that's not a function. What about B? -3, 0, 4, none of the x or values are repeating, so that's definitely a function. What about C? 1, 5, 9, look at the x values. There's nothing that's repeating, so that is a function. And then look at the last one, 3, 3, 3. All these x values repeat, so that is definitely not a function, right? Okay. 32. Consider the following system equation: x plus y equals 60 and 0.08 x plus 0.2 y equals 7.2. After solving above this equation, what is the ordered pair? So there is a way you could put this in your calculator. I'm not sure how to put that in. I know how to put it in that Desmo calculator, graphing calculator, but I don't think you're allowed to have a graphing calculator. But okay, so I don't know. I can't explain it how you would put it in the calculator because I don't know how to put it in a regular scientific. But apparently there's ways. But what you could do, there's two options you can do. You can actually try solving it. So what you're really doing is pretend these are two linear lines. Let's pretend hypothetically this is line one, and then hypothetically the second one is line two, right? They intersect at a point at a coordinate, and you got to figure out that coordinate. A coordinate is an x comma y value. So, what you could do is you can actually solve it by doing elimination, or you could test each one and test each one and then figure out if they both put it in both equation, and if it makes the statement true for both equation, that's the one. So this is what I mean. So let's try A. 40 is x, 20 is y, right? So put it in the first one and the second one, and if it makes a statement true, that's the one. So it's going to be 40 plus 20, right, equals 60. That's 60 equals 60, so that's true. And then put it in the second one, 0.08 times x, which is 40, plus 0.20 times it by y, which is 20. Does that give you 7.2? I think so. Yeah, it does. It's 7.2 equals 7.2. So that actually you found it because it has to satisfy both condition. So that's actually letter A. Now, that's one way. The other way is you can do elimination. I know to Right. So if you try to do elimination, let's say you want to get rid of the x, you're going to have to multiply the entire first equation by negative 0.08. So that's going to be negative 0.08x minus 0.08y equals to 60 times. Don't forget the last one. So what's 60 times negative 0.08? It's negative 4.8. And then this is going to be positive 0.08x. And then this is going to be positive 0.20y close to 7.2. So what happens is the x cancels and then you add them up vertically. So what's negative 0.08 plus 0.2? You could put that in the calculator. So negative 0.08 plus 0.20 is exactly 0.112y. And then what's negative 4.8 plus 7.2? That's 2.4. And then solve for y by dividing both sides by 0.12, 0.12, right? And you get y equals, so if we put 2.4 divided by 0.112, it is 20. So that's how they got the y value, 20 algebraically. And then to solve for x, you can plug this either into this equation or this one, as long as it's the original. So if I put it in this one, do not put it here, right? Because you multiplied by negative 0.8. So if I put in the first one, it would be x plus y, and my y is 20, equals 60, subtract 20, and you get 60 minus 2, 20 is 40. So that's the one. Okay, so that's letter A. Question 33, which of the following represents the inequality of the interval notation? So we have x. I'm a bit confused on this one. Which of the following graphs represent the inequality in the interval notation? So 33, the correct answer is D. C, D. Oh, okay, I see it. You see, it's actually kind of solved. Uh, don't worry about this x right here. They're trying to trick you. It's really just x is less than equal to 3 and then less than negative 2. Okay, so it's already been solved. I was like, yeah, sometimes I thought we had to isolate it. No, it's already solved. And then we have to graph this on a number line. So right here, this is okay. So what this is really saying is x is less than equal to 3. And then this right here is always backwards. It's really saying x is greater than negative 2. This is always backwards, right? X is greater than negative 2. And then over here, this is x is less than equal to 3. So what you could do is put it on a number line. The larger number is on the right, so 3 is large, sure. And then negative 2 is smaller. And then 3, uh, for the 3, you can either use a dark circle or a bracket. Uh, I think they use a bracket. So yeah, why? Because it has this equal sign. So you can use a bracket, and then for the negative 2, you can do either use an open circle or parentheses. I believe they use a parentheses, and then just follow the direction of the arrow. So x is less than or equal to 3, so you're gonna move the arrow to the left for 3, but not all the way. And then x is greater than negative 2. So here's negative 2, connect it. So this connects, right? So that is why it's letter D. 34. The product of two successive multiples of 15 is 4,500. Find the two numbers. So the product of two successive multiples of 15 is 4,500. Find the two numbers. So it's okay, that's a little bit tricky. So the product of two successive multiples of 15 is 4,500. So so is 40, so I whenever I hear the word is, I automatically know that's equal to 4,500, right? And then the product of two successive multiples of 15 is, so the first number will be 15, and then the product of that would be, of this unknown multiple would be 15x. And then it says, somewhere it says product, so that means multiplication. So I'm going to put parentheses. And then it's going to be, the next one is going to be 15 times x plus 1. I know that's a bit confusing, so that's what it really means. So the product of two successive multiples of 15. So the first one is 15 times an unknown number times 15, and then you're just going to add 1 to that unknown number. So it's 15 times x plus 1. Okay, and then what you could do is you could factor out a 15, right? 15 times 15 is 225. And then you're going to divide this by 225. So you get x times x plus 1. That's 20. And then I guess you could FOIL at the left, right? So this is going to be x squared plus x equals to 20. And then I guess you can subtract 20 from both sides. So you get x squared plus x minus 20 equals to 0. And then what you would have to do is factor this out. So it's going to be x, well, two numbers multiply -20, and when added gives you 1. That's 5 and 4, so that's positive 5 and negative 4. So when you actually solve for x, you get negative 5 and positive 4. Oh, but be careful. So this, remember, this is your first number, and then this is your second number, right? But we found x, but we can eliminate negative 5 because we can't use a negative value. So I think our x value is 14, I mean 4. So our first number is going to be 15 times x, or 15 times 4, which is 60. And then the second number is 15 times x, so that's 4 plus 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. That's 75. So the two numbers are actually going to be 60 and 75. Okay, so that was a little bit tricky one. Question 35. Liam got two new cars for his garage. Each car accelerated at a constant rate. The speed in kilometers per hour of the first car as a function of the time is given by the following table. So on the first table, here's your time, your x. I guess you could call this x, and then the speed is your y. The graph of the speed in kilometers per hour of the second cars as a function of time in minutes, since Liam got it shown below. Which car was faster when Liam got the cars? Uh yeah, I think it's going to be C. And this is why I know. So, you know the formula distance equals rate times time. And what you want to do is they're asking you, what was it? Blah, blah, blah. Which car was faster? So they're talking with speed or really rate. So if you kind of like isolate R by dividing both sides by T, so you get R equals distance over time. You'll see that their rate is going to be the same, right? So I'm going to say B. I mean C. Both cars at the same speed. Yeah. 36. Here you have a graph. Let's see. The graph on the function of x, where y equals f of x, models the total cost along the y-axis in dollars versus in soft toys and x toys. Which of the following best interprets the slope of the graph? So on the x-axis, what does the x-axis represent? They said that the total cost along the y-axis. Oh, so y is the cost in dollars, and what is the x? Toys. Okay, so certain toys and x toys. Certain soft toys. Oh, I see. This is going to be the amount of toys, right? So it's a linear line. What can we say about linear lines? Yeah, so just look at the slope. I think they're at 15, 20, 20, 15. They're all a slope. So what you could do is pick some points. So if I pick this point, that is at 4 comma 80. And then pick another point. This one is 0 comma 20. So if I call this x1, y1, x2, y2, my m is going to be y2, which is 20, minus my y1 is 80. My x2 is 0. My x1 is 4. So 20 minus 80 is negative 60. 0 minus 4 is negative 4. That's 15. So we found the slope, or basically the each toy cost, so it's going to be A. So on 36, they're just asking for the slope. Okay. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I gotta charge my wait 1 second. I gotta charge my laptop before it dies. But you can go ahead and copy that down. Okay, so yeah, charging me. Okay, so let's move on. 37 says, what is the equation of line containing the 2 points in slope-intercept form? So, what is slope-intercept form? It is y equals mx plus b. What is the equation of line? Oh, yeah. So this one, look at the choice very carefully. Look at A and B. Notice that they don't have a B or they don't have an X. And then if you look at or the same thing with C, they don't have an X and a B. So and then if you look at the last choice, it's a linear line with a letter X and a B. So it is technically in the form y equals mx plus b. When you have just y equals a constant, that is a horizontal line. Okay. So what I would do is I would not do like figure out the M and figure out the B because I think it's a good chance it's a horizontal line because look at the Y value. They both have a repeat of one. So what I would do is kind of draw it or plot it on a Cartesian plane. So let's plot three, comma one. Here's three, here's one right there, and then 5, comma 1. And if you connect the dot, you know it's a horizontal. So it's going to be y equals 1. You don't have, why is it y equals 1? Because it's a horizontal line. And then it just makes sense. It's y equals 1, right? Um, if you can continue connecting, it's going to be horizontal like this. Now, you don't have to worry about the slope and the b because I believe the slope of a horizontal line is either 0 or undefined. So it's just going to be b. 38. The table shows a function. What kind of function is being shown? Here we have a tape coordinates. Yeah. Is this a linear, nonlinear, semi-linear, or none of the above? What is a semi-linear? Not sure. But how let's figure out if it's actually linear. So how do you know if something must be linear? That doesn't mean proportional, right? Proportional is not the same thing as linear. But in a linear line, uh, must have a constant rate of change. That means the slope must be the same at all times. Okay, so let's look at the slope. We're probably gonna have to take, let's look at the point. We'll have to take 2 points. So let's use the point 9, comma 21 and 10, comma 13. Let's briefly figure out the slope. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So my y2 is 13 minus my y1 is 21. My x2 is 10 minus my x1 is 9. So that's going to be negative 8. And then 10 minus 9 is 1. So my slope is -8. Now what I'm going to do is pick another two random points. And if it gives me a slope of -8, that's one. So I could do 10 comma 13 and then 11 comma 5. X1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope is going to be 5 minus 13 and then 11 minus 10. 5 minus 13 is -8. 11 minus 10 is 1. Hello. See how they both have a slope of -8? That's how you know it's linear. So remember, linear doesn't mean it's proportional, but a linear must have a constant rate of change or the same slope. 39, simplify the expression. So this is it's kind of like order of operation stuff. Uh so pandas, let's do that. So this is why you have PEMDAS, order of operation. So this helps you figure out which you do first. So do we have a parentheses? We do. We have actually we have one parentheses here. Then this, do you see this bracket right here? This bracket and this bracket? That's technically a parentheses. And then do you see this other bracket? That's a third parentheses. I know that's strange. So let's look at here in the first one. Inside this parentheses, 2x minus 4, there's nothing more you can do, right? Because you can't mix the letter and a constant, right? So what I would do now is focus on this parentheses, this one right here. So we have 10x minus 3 times 2x minus 4. What shall we do? So inside that parenthesis, you might have to do pandas all over again. So do we have an exponent? No. Do we have a multiplication? Yes. Do you see this 3? That's like a multiplication. So FOIL out that -3. So that's going to be -6x. And then -3 times 4 is +12. And then bring down the 10x. Then what I would do next, so you don't get confused, bring down what you haven't done. So bring down this +4 and then little bracket, and then bring down this 3 plus 5 and then bracket. Okay, so let's focus on still focusing on this parentheses. So what do we do next? We don't have a multiplication, we don't have a division. We kind of have an addition, right? You can combine like terms. So what's 10x minus 6x? That's 4x plus 12 and then plus 4 bracket 3 plus 5. See how I'm bringing things I haven't done? Okay, so now in this parentheses, we have 4x plus 12. Is there anything we can do? No, you can't simplify it. So now let's do our outer parentheses. So let's focus on, oh, don't forget there's a minus right here. So bring down a minus. So now let's focus on this whole parentheses. So what could we do? Do we have to like kind of do pandas all over again? Just for this parentheses, right? So do we have an exponent? No. Do we have a multiplication? Yes. This 3 represents a multiplication, so follow that out. So 3 times 4x is 12x. 3 times 12 is 36. And then bring down this plus 4, and then this plus 5 bracket, and then bring down this minus. Then what we're going to do is so kind of do pandas all over again, just for this part here. So we don't have an exponent, we don't have a multiplication, we don't have a division. We do have a both addition and subtraction, so when you have that, go from left to right. So I'm just going to say 12x. I'm going to put the letter first, and then you can collect 5, 36, and 4. 5, 36, and 4. That is 45. Close it with the bracket, and then the last step is I would subtract distribute this minus. So that's going to be negative 12x minus 45. So that is how I got C, or not C, D. Negative 12x and negative 45. So you just have to be careful. You have to do order of operation, and you have bring down what after you do your parentheses. You might have to inside that parentheses, you might have to do pandas in just for pandas all over again just for that parentheses. So on the first one, we didn't have to. And the second one, we just had to do some multiplication. And then on the third parentheses, we did had to start with pandas all over again. And don't forget about this minus. Okay, 40. Consider the graph given below. Which of the following points represents a relative max? So this is a polynomial, and this is going to keep on going up, 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 and then this is going to go keep on going down, down, down. So what is a relative max? I like to think of it as the second highest. So unfortunately, there is no absolute max because this keeps on going up. This will keep on going up. So the second highest would be this point C. Okay. So that's how I think of a relative max or relative min. It's like the second highest or the second lowest. 41. Alex strives for a rideshare service and earns 150 for 5 hour shift. He wants to represent his earning as a linear equation where X represents the number of hours he works and Y represents the amount of money he earned. What is the slope of the linear line? So he wants to put it in the form of Y equals mx plus b. And yeah, so what would be the slope? What would be, okay, so so they also tell us that X is what? Number of hours, and Y is, what is the money earned, right? So if you recall, M can also be expressed as you don't, if you don't give you coordinates, I don't think they give us coordinates. Did you know that slope can also be expressed as change of Y over change of X? So do we have a Y value? Yes. We said Y was the money earned, so I believe it's 150. Do we have a change of X? Well, X is the number of hours, so 5 hours. So that's going to be 150 divided by 5, which is 30. So this is another way you could find slope. If they don't give you coordinates, you could do change over Y over change of X. So it's going to be $30 per hour. So B. 42, if there are 0.0833 feet in an inch and the height of a building is 1131 inches, then what is the height of the same building? Round to two decimals. So this is like a stoichiometry, or yeah, if you ever done chemistry, it's kind of like stoichiometry. So let's write what we have. So they're saying that 1 inch is equal to exactly 0.0833 feet, right? See, right here, 1 inch is equal to that. And then they're saying that they're saying start with this unit, 31 inches. And somehow, what is the height of the same? Somehow we have to get into feet. So I'm going to do a little stoichiometry and I'm going to make a fraction. And then on the bottom, I'm going to want to get rid of the inches. So I'm going to put inches here. And then on the top, I'm going to put feet. That's it. Because remember, if you recall, when you multiply a fraction, you multiply across, not crisscross. So the inches will disappear and then you're left with three. So what is the relationship between inches and feet? We said that 1 inch is exactly 0.0833 feet. So the inches disappears and then the feet, you're left with feet. Now, how to multiply fractions? You just multiply across. So what's 1131 times 0.0833? That is 94.2123. So that would be the closest to letter A. Consider the diagram below. Identify the point that corresponds to the coordinate -2, -4. Okay, this is easy. So here you have a Cartesian plane. -2 represents your x, -4 represent your y. So what I would do to make your life easier is always start at the origin, 0, 0 right here, and then do your x direction and then do your y direction. So x direction only goes left or right. That's it. So right if it's positive, left if it's negative, and then y goes either up or down. That's it. So up is positive and down is negative. So 0, 0, and then our x direction is -2. So I'm going to go 2 units to the left, 1, 2, but don't dot it. And then I'm going to go, my y direction is -4, so I'm going to go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's this one. So that's going to be D. A consultant earns a fixed fee of 350 per project plus a 12% commission on the total project cost. If the total cost of a project is 5,800, how much will the consultant earn for that project? So they're saying that a commission is equal to 12% of the total cost of the project, of a project. So how do you convert 12% as a decimal? It would be 0.112 and then times it by the total cost of the project that was like 5,800. So that's going to be 696. So your total earnings is equal to your fixed salary plus commission. So your fixed salary was 350 plus your commission, which was, we just figured that out, that's 696. And that gives you 1046. Okay, so that's letter C. Okay, two more and we are done. So Mark is twice as old as Lisa. If the sum of their age is 36 years, then the age of Mark, and you can only choose A, B, or C for Mark, and the age for Lisa is you can only choose D, E, or F. So there's a two-part question. So let's see. So Mark is twice as old as Lisa, so you can say Mark is 2 times L. And then Lisa, I don't know what Lisa is. It's just Lisa equals Lisa, right? And if you add up their age, uh, it's 36. So if you add up Mark plus Lisa, it's equal to 36. So Mark is 2L plus L equals to 36. That's going to be 3L. And then divide this by 3. 36 divided by 3 is 12. So Lisa is 12 years old, 12 years. And then Mark, we could figure out what Mark is because it's 2 times Lisa. So 12, 2 times 12, which is 24. Okay. So they said Mark, choose A, B, or C. So Mark is B. And then Lisa is 12. So that would be letter D. Okay. Last one. The function is defined by g of x equals negative 3x cubed plus 4ax, and g of 1 is negative 1. What is the value of g of negative 2/3? So believe it or not, so g of 1 equals negative 1. Believe it or not, that's like a coordinate. That gives you 1 comma negative 1, right? So if you plug in 1 into this function, it spits out negative 1. So what is g of negative 2/3? Is that even relevant? It's really simple. So all you got to, so g of negative 2/3 is basically, oh yes, it is because you got to solve for a. So what we're going to do is plug in that point into this to figure out what the a is. Then we can plug in the x value negative 2/3. So 1 is your x, negative 1 is your y. So it's going to be negative 1 equals to negative 3. And then wherever you see an x, replace it with 1. So 1 to the cubed is 1, and then you have a negative 3 plus, and then 4 times a times 1 is 4a equals to negative 1. Add 3 to both sides. So you get 2 equals 2. 4a. Divide this by 4. Divide this by 4. You get a equals to 2/4, which is 1/2. So now our function is g of x is equal to negative 3x cubed plus 4, and then a, you can replace that with 1/2 times by x. That's going to be negative 3x cubed. 4 times 1/2 is 2x. And now you may find g of negative 2/3. So g of negative 2/3 is basically wherever you see an x, plug in negative 2/3. So it's negative 3 times negative 2/3 to the cubed plus 2 times negative 2/3. And when you put that in the calculator, you're going to get negative 4/9. Okay, so you could just put this all in the calculator and you get B. Okay, that was the last one for this GED exam. So I'm going to stop here.